Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome to lesson 8, and today is Thursday. Don't forget you need all the materials for reading class in front of you, but the ones you are going to need right away would be your word web, your daily comprehension, and your interactive journal. So let's start with our word web. The new word that we are going to learn today is blood vessel. So blood vessel, we know that we're learning about the circulatory system in our bodies, how red blood cells carry and deliver oxygen throughout our whole body, and we know that it travels through plasma. Now we know that without plasma, there would be a traffic jam. So you would look for this word, blood vessel. So boys and girls, today actually you will go to the book. Remember when you go to Teams, make sure you click on reading class. Make sure you're under the tab that says general and then files. So once you click on files, you'll be able to access the circulatory system or the circulatory story, sorry. And here, remember, you can always download, that way you have access to it. So I'm going to show you here how we're going to get the definition. So actually, if you go to all the way to the back of the book, there is a glossary. Remember, what does a glossary do, boys and girls? It gives us meanings to words that we might not know. So today we're going to look for blood vessel, and it is right here. Go ahead and copy this. It says a tube in which blood travels throughout the body. So it's a tube and in which blood travels throughout the body. So what can we say a synonym is? What can we compare that blood vessel? We can say it's a tube. Yeah, so if you said the word tube, go ahead and write that as a synonym. Remember, if you're watching this video, you can go ahead and pause it anytime. Okay, boys and girls, so your word web should look something like this. You copy the word blood vessel, and it's a tube where blood travels. A little picture that you could remind yourself, it could look like this. You could also draw something else with more detail. That's fine. If you can't draw like Miss Alvarado, that's fine. Now, a synonym would be a tube, because we know that it goes throughout our whole body. It's a circle and blood travels through here. So I just did this little squiggly lines. We know plasma is in there. We know red blood cells are traveling through there. Now, let's go ahead and put our word web away, and let's go ahead and start reading the circulatory system. Okay, so lesson 8 objective is going to be students will be able to write the main idea of a section using the MISD chart. So boys and girls, take out your anchor chart, and on your anchor chart, find the one that says main idea. So your main idea anchor chart looks like this. We base it off on the Clara Barton biography. Remember, we ask ourselves 2 questions: who or what, and what about it? And then we determine the main idea, and we write our supporting details, which confirms the main idea. So take it out. So on a blank sheet of paper in your composition book, I want you to write main idea key points. Because remember, boys and girls, these key points guide you through the lesson. If you ever get stuck and you forget, how do I find the main idea? You go back to your key points. So how are you going to do it? Number 1, you're going to ask who or what. Once you've determined if it's a who or what, you're going to ask yourselves, what about it? Don't forget to provide supporting details and use textual evidence. Remember, boys and girls, textual evidence comes straight from the text. So pause this video now so you can copy all these key points. And while we've already talked about what is a great heart figuratively, remember Clara Barton, Anne Frank, Helen Keller, they were brave, they were courageous, they were great-hearted people, they were kind to others. Now we're talking about what is a great heart literally. So we're going to talk about a great heart literally from lessons 7 through 17. Literally means what? It means real. It can happen. So now we're talking about our real heart, the one inside of our bodies. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to find the main idea of a section. Remember, a section is part of a story. What's a section? It's a part of a story. Versus selection, selection is a whole story. So say it with me. Selection is a whole story, while a section is a part of a story. We are going to find the main idea of a section by going through pages 6 through 9. Remember, boys and girls, you do need this book in front of you. So make sure you're either viewing it through your phone, your iPad, or your computer if you have already downloaded. So let's go ahead and go to page 6. Okay, so page 6 is the one that says saddle up that cell. So I know that whole section is talking about a cell, and it introduces to a red blood cell. Remember, good readers always go back and reread the section. So I see a diagram, it's labeled with the blood vessel. I know there's platelets. I know this little green creature is on top of a red blood cell. And what does it carry? It's carrying oxygen. So let's go ahead and reread that section. See the red thing that looks like an inner tube without the hoe? It's an erythrocyte, and it's one of the 3 cellular components or formed elements of blood. We'll meet the other components later. An erythrocyte is also known as a red blood cell, and you're right. This red blood cell is just one of millions found in a drop of blood. These carry oxygen. No, they don't carry it in a suitcase or a backpack. Instead, the oxygen attaches to a chemical called hemoglobin that's found in red blood cells. With hemoglobin's help, blood can transport oxygen to all parts of the body, including cells and tissues, which need a constant supply of oxygen, O2, in order to work. Nice job, Red. So, boys and girls, we can tell from this illustration and diagram that this is a red blood cell, yes. So I know that the inner tube without a hole is a red blood cell. That green creature is going to travel through it, and it's going to be showing as part of our circulatory system. And remember, what is it attached to, or what is attached to the red blood cell? It's oxygen, okay? So boys and girls, is this section talking about our hearts? No, it's talking about what? Red blood cells. And what do red blood cells do? Remember, we already asked ourselves our first question. Is it a who or a what? So it is a what, okay. So what is my what? Look at the heading. It gives me a clue. The cell. Okay, so the red blood cell. Okay, now our second question. Remember, what do we ask? What about it? Okay, what about the red blood cells did this section tell me that they do that is very, very important for our bodies? What do they do? So yes, they carry oxygen throughout our whole bodies. Good. We just found the main idea of a section. Now let's find supporting details. But before we continue, let's go ahead and grab our composition book so we can write the main idea. Okay, boys and girls, make sure you open your composition book. And it could be below where you wrote the key points. Make sure you write your name, date, and go. Make sure you label this main idea plus supporting details. And I went ahead and rewrote here the 2 main questions that's going to help me guide myself through finding the main idea and the supporting details. So number 1, who or what, and what about it? Don't forget to put the name of the selection that we're reading. So we're reading the circulatory story, and we are looking at page 6. You can pause the video at any time so that you can copy these. Okay, so we said that page 6 has a who or a what? It has a what, right? Okay, what was my what? What did the heading, what did the illustration, what did the section tell me? It was about the red blood cells. Okay, so let's go ahead and write that down. Okay, remember, second question. What about it? So yes, make sure you're copying every single one of these. Eventually, when we get really good at main idea, we don't have to be rewriting the questions, but right now, we have to write the questions so that we can remember ourselves. This is what's going to help us for the mid-module. Okay, so what about red blood cells? Let's go back to our text. Okay, so what did we say red blood cells do? What is their job? They carry oxygen. Good, let's go ahead and go back and write that. So red blood cells carry oxygen. Now, do they just carry oxygen and that's it? No, they carry it throughout our whole body. So carry oxygen around our body. So red blood cells, what about them? They carry oxygen around our body. Now let's put those 2 together and do a complete sentence. So I'm going to put a little circle here, and I'm going to put red blood cells carry oxygen throughout, you can put throughout or around our body. So red blood cells carry oxygen throughout our body or around our body. Awesome, we have our main idea. We did a fantastic job. Now we need a supporting detail. Remember, what do supporting details do? They verify that our answers are correct. So I know I need to go to page 6 to find a supporting detail. Remember, a good reader always goes back and rereads this section. So let's go ahead and go back to page 6. Okay, so I know the main idea is that red blood cells carry oxygen throughout the body. Okay, so why is that important? What do they do that for? So remember, you can pause this video at any time to reread it. Why are red blood cells so important that they carry oxygen? Where do they take it to? Look what it says here. With hemoglobin's help, blood can transport oxygen to all parts of our body, including cells and tissues, which need a constant supply of oxygen. Oh, so can that be a supporting detail that our body needs constant oxygen? Can we say that's why red blood cells carry oxygen? Yes, let's go ahead and go back and write that. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in our own words. We don't have to copy word by word. So we can put with the help of hemoglobin, blood delivers oxygen that our body needs. I just can't wake up one day, boys and girls, and say, you know what? Today I'm just going to lay in bed. I'm going to make sure that my red blood cells take a day off. No, you can't do that. Even if you're laying down, your red blood cells are traveling throughout your whole body, making sure every single part of your body gets oxygen because you need oxygen to survive. So that's the supporting details. They carry oxygen throughout your body. Why or how? With the help of hemoglobin, because our body needs it. I'm going to underline 2 times. Our body needs oxygen. Okay, boys and girls, let's go ahead and move on to page 7. So page 7, I know it's going to be all about going with the flow. And what does that mean? Remember, good readers go back and reread it. What does it mean with the flow? So I know with the flow is when you go with something, but let's see what it's talking about. I already see the red blood cell going, but let's find out. Busy red blood cells are always on the move, but how do they flow from one part of the body to another? The blood they travel in is full of a substance called plasma. Plasma contains some dissolved proteins, but it's mostly water, about 90%, which lets blood flow pretty well. Without plasma, these cells would cause a traffic jam. So boys and girls, what do they keep talking about? What is the main idea of this section? Is it a who or is it a what? It is a what. Good job if you said a what. Okay, what is my what? What's that word that keeps getting repeated? I know they went with the flow. So it is talking about plasma. Good job if you said plasma. Look, the author here included this illustration to show me the diagram of what plasma would look like. So it looks like this little gooey yellow thing here. And that's where the red blood cells travel. Remember, without it, there would be a traffic jam. And they don't mean literally a traffic jam, boys and girls, where the police or the fire department would be called. They mean a traffic jam where it couldn't travel throughout your body correctly. Your red blood cells wouldn't be able to travel correctly. So I know this section is about plasma. Okay, what about it? What is so important about plasma? Why do we need plasma, boys and girls? Why? It lets the red blood cells travel without any jams. Good. Let's go ahead and go back to our composition book and write that. Okay, so if you wrote so big just like me, I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to write in the back. Remember, we don't waste any paper, boys and girls. I'm going to write here, this is all about page 7. My 2 questions, the who or the what. I determine I have a what. And then my what about it. So my what was plasma. Okay, what about plasma? What does it work? Why do we need it? It lets red blood cells travel. How do they travel? Without any problems, right? Or without any, let's write traffic jam. Without any issues. So plasma, what about it? It lets red blood cells travel without any traffic jam. Don't forget, we need to write in a complete sentence. So my complete sentence would be plasma lets red blood cells, remember I'm just writing them together because we need a complete sentence, travel without a traffic jam. You can also write without any issues. Good. Now we need a supporting detail. Remember, something that supports our main idea. How can we verify that plasma lets red blood cells travel without a jam? How do we know that? Remember, we need to go back to our text. Okay, so the first sentence I see, it says busy red blood cells are always on the move. Okay, so is that the reason why we have plasma? Is that a supporting detail, that the reason why we need plasma is because red blood cells are always on the go, 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 they never stop? Is that a reason? Yes, absolutely. So let's go ahead and go back and write that as a supporting detail. So we can put it in our own words. The reason why we have the plasma that allows red blood cells to travel is because red blood cells are always on the go. You can also say always traveling, always moving, because that's true. Remember, I just can't sit and say, okay, let my red blood cells have a day off. Today, nobody moves. No, that's not true. They have to keep moving. Your body needs oxygen. They carry the oxygen. They travel throughout your body. And what lets them travel freely? Plasma. So because they're always on the go, means that they're always moving, they need plasma. So good job, boys and girls. Make sure you kiss your brain. We have found the main idea for 2 whole pages. It's gonna get easier, I promise. Okay, boys and girls, so before you go, remember to have your interactive journal in front of you because that's how we reference our anchor charts. Remember to have your homework section. As soon as we enter class, we're going to start checking page 5, and then we are going to do our do now. I will see you in class.